Our next guest on our podcast is Peter-Paul de Goeij, who is Managing Director at the Netherlands Online Gambling Association, otherwise known as NOGA, and long-standing veteran in our industry. For those who don't know, NOGA is the trade association representing a body of online gambling providers that aim for a safe and responsible and attractive online gambling offer in the Netherlands. The first licensees, very excitingly, are about to go live on October 1st, so I'm guessing Peter-Paul has been pretty busy. The gaming world's eyes have been on the Netherlands for quite some time now, and Peter-Paul has been at the forefront of shaping this market. With so much media attention focused on regulation and compliance, and so many operators scrutinizing the markets they enter, it takes a special leader and communicator to be able to build an engaged membership of operators focused on building something sustainable. It is therefore my pleasure to welcome Peter-Paul de Goeij to the show. Welcome, Peter-Paul.
Thank you, Kelly, and hello, everyone. And I'm completely humbled by your introduction. Thank you.
Let's kick off and get right to it about the Dutch market, if we can. I know a lot of our listeners are really keen to get your take. As it stands, the Dutch regulator, KSA, will authorize 28 online gambling licenses to launch the KOA market on the 1st of October. Is this the right number of licenses? Is there room for growth there?
The honest answer is we don't know. In the period between April 1st and April 15, which is the period in which the KSA decided the first batch of operators would be eligible to apply for a license, they received a number of 28 applications. What we don't know is how many applications went in after the 15th of April. It is expected, though, that the first batch of licenses will be issued just before October 1st, so they all can be at the start at the same time. And we do expect the number to be close to 28, but we don't know for sure whether all applicants have made it through.
Okay. Speaking of applicants, there's been a fair focus on fair competition as part of the provision for these licenses, right? Is this something that NOGA has worked on as part of your sustainability strategy? And can you explain a little bit more about what that entails?
Absolutely. Any healthy online gambling market has a level playing field for all operators that are active on that market. This means that also incumbents, so existing state-owned companies should have the same starting position as any new entrant, any international operator coming to the Dutch market. Looking at the Netherlands specifically, I would say there is a bit of a mixed bag, as there is not a completely, let's say, level playing field, because like I just told you, on the first batch of applicants, the Dutch legislator decided that there is a cooling off period for operators that have been passively, not targeting, but passively dealing with online customers from the Netherlands. And this cooling off period basically says that any operator that has been breaking the prioritization criteria that are still in force in the Netherlands, which means that you should not have an active or you should not target Dutch consumers with Dutch language, typical Dutch payment provider, etc. Any operator that has violated any of these criteria will have to wait 33 months after the last time they've broken any of the prioritization criteria until they can successfully apply for a license. This is called the cooling off period. This, of course, gives the incumbent land-based industry that is going online a head start. So in that respect, I don't think that you could honestly say that there is a level playing field. But as NOGA, we decided to look at the future and don't look at the days past, and don't look at the past almost 10 years that this new law has been debated at length and has been altered and changed, etc. but we're looking at the future, and we're very enthusiastic, and we're very upbeat about the market's potential. And we are basically calling on everyone, including the incumbents, to work together with us to make the Dutch market opening a huge success.
Great. Great. So speaking of messaging and marketing and advertising, I know that advertising in the Netherlands is a particular interest to you and to NOGA.
Yes.
And to your members. Yeah. Certainly, the topic of advertising has been paramount globally in our industry. What's happening there? Can you give us an update? And I know there was some updates on Monday, but if you can just sort of rehash that and tell us what's next.
Yeah. So. Maybe it's good to start with why advertising is such an important topic to any online gambling market that is about to open up. Advertising is crucial when you want to channel consumers away from the illegal offer to the legal offer. If consumers don't know there is a legal offer out there, how can they choose the legal offer? So it's crucial that new entrants, that my members are able to advertise their offer to the Dutch public, basically. But the reason why we have been concerned and why we are growingly becoming more concerned is that we see a tendency, even before the market is opening up, that parties are basically buying advertising time ahead of the market opening, which is normal, it is to be expected, but they are already infighting amongst each other for the best sponsor contracts, for the best advertising contracts, etc. In the recent months, there have been various occasions where the Dutch state lottery, for instance, went across the line of advertising and were targeting youth and we're basically already doing that what should not happen after the 1st of October. And the reason why we are increasingly alarmed is also because we know what happened in other markets. If we look at Sweden, which is a market that recently regulated, there is a requirement in Swedish law to be moderate in your advertising. But for a single operator, it is really, really hard to be moderate if your competitor is not. So this leads to a problem that overall the total market volume of advertising becomes too much to swallow for consumers. And I can see this happening in the Netherlands as well. So that is why we are calling on our fellow competitors, if you will, is to come together and to agree with the media parties, with the advertising companies, with the broadcasters to come up with a system which I call advertising volume control, in which we try to ensure that the total volume doesn't become too much. But we are calling on them, so I hope that they're watching this podcast. And but we really want to make the Netherlands market a success, and we don't want politicians to have to step in and come up with, draconic measures or even a ban on gambling advertising, which would be really, really a big loss to the Dutch gambling market.
Sure. Those high contact and fair play demands that you're talking about being placed on operators, certainly, and being paramount for the licensees that come into the Netherlands. Are you addressing affiliates as well? Is there any special requirements that you're working with affiliate partners? Certainly, they play a part here.
So NOGA is really paying attention to what is happening in the affiliate market. In the Netherlands, the legislator chose a system in which only the operator is responsible and liable for any offer, for any advertising under its license. So they face scrutiny from the KSA. So if something goes wrong with affiliates, the operator may have its license suspended or has to pay a fine, or might even get its license revoked. So the operator will be very, very careful to see with what kind of affiliate he is working with. And then there is, I think, a very good step that recently happened in the Netherlands, which is the affiliates, or some affiliates, got together and they set up a system in which you can get like a stamp of approval, a rubber stamp of being a responsible affiliate. And this is something that we look at with great interest, and we think it's the right way. And NOGA is also very much supportive of this initiative. And I actually took a seat on the advisory board of this new organization. So hopefully this binds the affiliates to the responsible offering and responsible marketing that we stand for.
Great. It's all part of sort of that sustainable ecosystem, which is great to hear.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if we can shift over to a more personal side of things, typically an SBC Leaders podcast, we really like to talk about your personal take on leadership, where you've come from and where you've been. You've been in this industry for quite some time, I believe almost 10 years.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
What's attractive about this current role as managing director at NOGA?
So before I joined the gambling industry, I worked in the telecommunications industry, which I thought was really dynamic. There's a lot happening. Competition is fierce. You know, it's almost cutthroat competition, you would think. But it's a similar game between incumbents and new entrants. New entrants trying to get access to the market and trying to get the competing offer to consumers. So when I joined a lottery company, which is kind of a softer form of gambling, if you will. You're bringing together money for charities. So, you know, it's a really easy sell, I used to say always. You know, you don't have to be ashamed of anything. And then the board of NOGA, after I left the previous company, they contacted me and asked me whether I would be willing to take NOGA to the next level, basically turn it into a proper branch, or what do you call it, trade association, which happened last year in August. I you know, when I started out in the gambling industry, I never considered myself to be a leader, or I still have a hard time, you know, to consider myself a leader. But I try to show what I think is the best way. So leadership by example, if you will. But I'm not taking myself too seriously as a leader, and I try to keep everyone together and build bridges and build connections where they don't exist yet. So this is also something which I try to do as the head of NOGA. I'm trying to build bridges towards the incumbents. I'm extending the hand towards other trade associations in the Netherlands, and I believe that only together, by working together, we can make the Dutch market a huge success. And I'm absolutely convinced that this market has great potential. It's one of the best regulated markets in Europe. I'm really convinced of that. It's really strict. It's not for the faint-hearted, I said in an interview. But if you take responsible gambling, and if you take duty of care seriously, then the Dutch market may be very interesting for you as an operator. And I want to ensure by reaching out, building that bridge, that this whole market becomes a success. And that's basically how I see my role as a leader in NOGA in the Netherlands.
Sure. We touched on a bit of impact there, and certainly, you know, in a strict market, you know, there is a lot of impact to be had, especially when it comes to player protection, when it comes to responsibility. What do you think, you know, this role, and what can the Netherlands achieve in the wider world of betting and gambling that others have not, given that?
Well, I don't know what the English expression is for this Dutch thing that I have to think of, but since we are so late with regulating the market, we had some time to, come up with new things that may well work. So I think that we had the advantage of being able to look at other markets to things that do not work. So I'm not going to mention any countries because
Yeah.
we work together with everyone from those countries. But there are some countries out there that I'm thinking of that show me what does not work very well. And I think that, in the Netherlands, we have really taken consumer protection to the next level. I think it's not only in the letter of the law, but it's really in the day-to-day operations of any operator that wants a license in the Netherlands. It has to be ingrained in your organization. It has to be center of mind. You have to really mean it, I always say, if you want to be an operator in the Netherlands, to put the customer first. And no gambling operator that doesn't take problem gambling seriously, for instance, can have a rightful place in the Netherlands, I think. So in that respect, I think we are really well positioned. So the consumer really wins in the Netherlands with this regulation.
That's great. And it feels like the right time for that. It feels like global operators are taking that seriously and making it part of their ethos at the moment.
Yes.
That's good. I asked this to all my guests. I started asking it with my first guest, and it's just has carried on. We work in an industry full of sports and games and very, very passionate people. Do you have to love sports or games to run a business in this industry?
Well, I think it hugely helps. If you have a love for the game, you are probably also fiercely protecting it, protecting integrity, for instance. So if you're big about football or soccer, like you say in the States, I think you will go an extra mile to ensure that, there is no corrupting influence because people are match fixing or anything. So I think it helps. Whether it's necessary that you like to gamble, I'm not sure. What I think is important that it should be, let's say that you think that if you want to gamble, it should be possible, right? That's I think a starting point. Yeah. So personally, I do like sports, but I like to play sports. I don't like to watch them that much. And when it comes to gambling, I used to gamble when I was a teenager. So under current legislation, I would be violating a number of rules. So was the cafe where we were playing the slot machine. But yeah, I can say that I once every 5 years get into a casino by chance. But I don't regularly go there to play or anything.
Yeah. What's your favorite sport?
Running. Yeah, I really like to run, and field hockey. I like. I like swimming, skiing, and all that stuff. But they're more individual sports, I would say. Yeah.
Great. Do you have a hero, or have you looked for inspiration? Have you looked to someone for inspiration when making your career decisions or life decisions?
So the answer is split, basically. So my mother is one of my greatest heroes. I try to honor her every day. And next to that, let's say I'm still hugely impressionated by President Barack Obama. And that's because I think he's a great communicator. I'm not talking about his politics or what he did and did not achieve whilst being a president, but I remember very vividly when he was elected the first time, I really felt like, something groundbreaking happened, and I still look at it that way. But then, things happened afterwards.
Sure. Yes.
But yeah, I think he's a very, sort of radiating a man almost. But yeah, it's definitely a great example for me.
Yeah, I agree. He's inspirational to listen to.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Any surprises in your current role that you've run into that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, on a personal level, that I sometimes find it hard not to get carried away by, let's say, worries. Am I doing the right thing? Am I coming across the way I intend to come across? These are all very personal things, and that I thought I would have been able to let behind me, after all those years. But still, sometimes there are doubts, and I guess that only keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty natural. We're running out of time, but October 1st is 3 weeks away. That's a very big day for everyone in the Netherlands. And I was hoping that you might take some time to walk me through what October 1st might look like for you personally. Have you thought about it? Is it going to be super insane? Have we done the heavy lifting? What's going to happen on that day?
I think it would be a big mistake to think like, oh, right, so now we're done and all the work, all the heavy lifting has been done.
Yeah.
I think it only starts. It's like letting the ship roll off the ramp into the water, putting it out for its maiden voyage, and there will be cracks where water is leaking through. So we have to be very vigilant. We have to see whether everything is working the way it was intended. So we will be closely monitoring, together with the members, together with the KSA, the regulator, and the ministry. We'll be regularly testing how consumers are responding to regulations and to the offer that is being put out there, which is the NOGA barometer, which will be put out every year. So this is also going to give us, a historical line, and hopefully can show an increase of, let's say, consumers' trust in online gambling offering. So on October 1st, a few days before it, there's a Gaming in Holland conference. I see that as the informal launch of the online market. And I expect a number of our members to be at the start on October 1st. I cannot mention any names. That would not be right for me to, to basically out them as new entrants to the market. But it's going to be very, very exciting. And again, we're going to continue extend our hand to fellow competitors, to other trade associations, to the government, to the ministry, and the KSA to work together and make this a success. But I will be, in a healthy way, probably a bit fidgety on the 30th of September, just before 12. But when the act came into force the day after, I was going like, okay, so life really didn't change that much.
Yeah.
So, but
will you have your phone on or off on that day?
I will definitely have my phone on. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Good. That is very exciting, and we wish you all the best in the next coming weeks, and all the as much anxiety as you can, relieve yourself of. Then we'll wish you that as well.
Thank you very much.
As you say, it's healthy. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. My sincerest thanks to you, Peter-Paul, for joining us.
Thank you.
Giving us the opportunity to learn more about the personal side of leadership and what you're doing in the Netherlands, but also what's to come for the Netherlands online gaming market. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been the 8th episode of SBC Leaders Podcast. I'm Kelly Kehn, Global Relationship Director for SBC. You can subscribe to this series on Spotify, Apple, Google, or watch direct on gamblingtv.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.